they get to go sit and stew on that.
Yeah.
And think about how you get to leave and they don't.
That was a hard one for me to try to understand how somebody wouldn't want that for somebody. To be that miserable. Like my bunkie did 44 years. And he was leaving and somebody tried to plant some stuff on him and, flew a kite saying he had this or whatever, you know what I mean? I was like, it's wild, so.
Welcome back to the Level Up Life, Muscle and Mindset Mastery. I'm your host, Adam Wittbrodt. Got two special guests here. Today we're going to be discussing prison culture in part one, which, if you haven't been inside, there's a lot of little details that I don't think the general public truly understands, and we're going to get into some of that today. So, got two people. Derrick Sturgeon goes by Sonny.
Thank you.
Welcome. Percy Glover, welcome.
Thank you.
So, we'll start with you, Derrick. So, this is one of those questions that inside you don't really ask. When I was in there, what were you in for, and how long did you spend?
It was basically the short of it is a methamphetamine, a lab charge, and then a third DUI, and then a whole bunch of underlying chargeable misdemeanors. So.
Like resisting and obstructing.
Yeah, fleeing and eluding, all the things, runner. I was a runner, so, they didn't like that, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
What about you, Percy?
So, much longer story, but retaliation to a shooting, and my friends were shot at, and we retaliated. Subsequently, someone lost their life, so I went to prison for a manslaughter and a felony firearm. So, did a little bit more than 10 years in prison.
Yeah. And then, your environment was different.
Oh, yeah.
So you grew up
not to make excuses, but I was really young.
Right.
And, I tell young men today, one of the biggest things is understanding the ability to walk away. So many times as men, our education around masculinity is to defend yourself, fight back, don't let nobody hit you, don't be a punk, which... Also, now, as an older person, I understand that in that education, there's a lot of irresponsibility with that education, because the greatest de-escalation tool, just walk away. Yep. Understanding that it's not that serious, It wasn't that serious. A couple bullet holes in my car. I wasn't injured. My friends wasn't injured. A car is material. We should have just walked away.
Yep.
We should have just walked away.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of gets into, inside, respect is the currency, right? That's one of the biggest things, at least from my time in there. So, I guess, tell me one thing, each of you, that when you're inside, if you do this thing, you automatically lose respect of the other inmates.
Well, I guess it could go as... I'd like to just say if you say something to somebody, the wrong thing to the wrong person, but any real disrespect takes away your respect, if you will. And what I liked about it is it couldn't be cheated, bought, stolen, anything. It could only be earned, and it takes a long time. And I witnessed a lot of people lose it. You know what I mean? Instantaneously. So yeah, I would just say for your answer is obviously just don't cross nobody, you know what I mean? So really just don't be nosy, things like that. Yep. But I know that was a longer answer than you probably.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
What about you? and you were in different time frame. We'll circle back to that.
The 90s was different from the 80s, which is different currently, which is a whole lot different from the 70s. Not to rob Sonny of his response, but something similar is it's kind of just minding your business.
Yeah.
When you cross that line into some other elements of what's going on with someone else, that's when it kind of gets dangerous. One of the easier safeguards is just mind your business, inquiring like, oh, what are they doing over there? No.
Yeah.
Right.
And don't ask,
Mm-hmm.
Don't see.
Yeah.
One of my friends told me a skill that I had to develop when I was there is that you have to be able to talk and listen at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like catch what's going over there indiscreetly, but going to actually investigate, like, hey, what are you guys doing? That is so crossing the line. It's so dangerous.
Yeah. Just minding your business.
There's a lot to hear in which you don't look at.
Exactly.
If that makes sense.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So,
Exactly.
Well, and that differs a lot from out in the public. You have a lot, like, I'm sure everybody's heard about a nosy neighbor, or and just how stark of a difference it is between culturally, like inside and outside.
Yeah, and just the more you stay out of things, the better chances you are. So it's like, what was I gonna say? It's like, I didn't want to know much. You know what I mean? I didn't want to know what he's got going on or what, So, yeah.
You could always tell, though, someone moving just a little.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you see it.
Yeah, and it's like deliberately look away because you don't know. Then you can't.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at the ground and you hear them noises. It's hard not to look at, and you just learn, I guess.
That's like when I was inside, I went to the bathroom. I had to pee like 2 a.m. or something. And I went there once and I was like,
we're not doing this.
I'm not going to the bathroom ever again in the middle of the night because of what happens in the bathrooms at that time. And I was in a level 1, so pole barns, cubicles. I think it was OTF level 1. So each unit, A through F, I think it was, had 160 guys in it. So 80 per side of this pole barn. And I mean, I'm like, I'm going to stop drinking water. I ain't never going back in there because
8 man cubes.
Well, yeah. Separated by lockers. But when I went in there and I was just like, I could see dude's head up here. And I seen like
multiple
the heels up out of the stall. And I was like,
yeah.
And then I just turn around and I'm like, that's because that's another one of those things you just don't.
Yeah. The less you know, the less you ultimately will ever have to explain. So that's, I just simplified my bit, after learning a couple times the hard way, right?
So I'll tell you guys a story. You think of the first, week, 2 weeks you're down, right? First 2 weeks. And for the public, being down is being incarcerated, if we reference that. I had dude's one of the biggest dudes in there. He's like 5'9", 270. He spent 12 years in there. I think his was like armed robbery or something. And I won't throw his name out there just for anonymity for his sake, whatever he's doing now. But big dude. I'm on the top bunk, he's on the bottom. And I'm up there, I'm 145 pounds at the time. Writing a letter home. Got my coffee, those clear mugs. Bump it, spills down on his TV. And this is an example of one of those moments where, I have to stand up for myself. Because if I don't, what label does that get you in there? So I'm like, I don't want to be labeled a bitch.
Yeah.
Right? Because then you get walked over your whole bit. So I'm like, I stand up on top of my bunk like this. I'm just staring him down. And and you guys are familiar with Mobites, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
He was like leader of the Mobites in that facility. So I'm standing there and I'm like, he's got coffee all over. He's got new white tea from the quartermaster. He's like standing there. He's looking at me like I'm the one that's crazy. And I'm like, so he unplugged his TV, looks at me. He's like, you gonna come down here and help me clean this up? I didn't flinch. I just stood there and looked at him and didn't move. And he's like, I'm not gonna do anything to you, man. You gonna help me clean this up? Still didn't flinch. He said it again. stuck his hand out like this. And I was like, this is how he pulls me down. So I didn't grab his hand, but I was like, I eased up a little bit. He's like, you one crazy white boy. I got down. I helped him clean it up. But just the fact I was willing, I was like, I'm going to fight to my death here.
Yeah.
If I have to. Because I was willing, I gained his respect. And I mean, it rippled out because I became the little white boy. This 140-pound mofo was trying to fight,
Right.
this guy. And so I gained a lot of respect in that moment. So I want to hear a story like where you gained respect.
So I guess I'm going to go to. So I still used in prison in the beginning. So there's a lot of territorial issues and, these persons, drugs you can use, these persons you can't, and, a lot of weird. The politics in prison is, I don't like it. It's just the way it is and it's weird. But so we get into basically a turf war thing and same thing, same organization. And I actually get the better of this guy. Well, you never actually win, so later on, they all try to jump me. So I'm standing, I remember I'm working third shift in this cabinet shop, and I'm standing, and I see the reflection in this mirror, this welding window that's on the other side. And I can see him all standing behind me. Well, I turn around, and I'm like, what's up? Everybody at once, one at a time, what's up? And they're just like, one of them just turns around and leaves. And then the other two are just still standing there. Well, he comes at me with a knife, tries to stab me. As I kick him, he sticks me in the calf, So, and I'm still not stopping, you know what I mean? I'm trying to get this knife while the other one's, hitting me in the shoulder and the side of the head. And, the cops ultimately come. There's one cop at the end of the school building doing a round, so they ultimately come, and that went a long ways, so that, that was probably for the level 4 scenario that I was in. That was what saved me, is that knowing that, they will go, so similar story in nature, but
Yeah.
And, there's a little more to it than that, but that's kind of how that went down. So got stabbed and took the knife and was going to use it if I could.
Right,
So,
right.
So that was that one.
Yeah.
One of many, though.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and there's a stark difference. I only experienced level 1, but from level 2, and from what I understand, there is no more level 3s.
Right.
Yeah.
And then level 4, and then level 5 is max.
Yeah. Yeah. You really got to do your due diligence to get to level 5 anymore. But yeah, this level 4 was a disciplinary unit on a disciplinary wing, and a disciplinary joint,
Yep.
just like I've said before, it was a discrepancy of moving schematics that, they stopped to ride out because they were closing some prisons, and, I just fell in this loophole. I'm just going to call it, unpaid negative karmatic debt. And it just, led me to a place where, you shouldn't really be, especially, like you say, I was very small when I went into prison, so, I wasn't eating and sleeping. We'll say that,
Yep.
So. Yeah.
What about you, Percy?
Wow. So I was at a facility, actually the Thumb.
Thumb Correctional
Yeah, I was at
Facility.
the Thumb Correctional Facility in a level 4. That's no longer a level 4 because I believe the Haida and the younger guys are there. And I had to be there maybe 3 days. And a guy I kind of knew him from the streets, but I really connected with him while we were in the jail. And he lent me his shoes to play basketball. I ended up getting into a fight with 3 guys over absolutely nothing, literally nothing. So basically, how the argument starts is me and this other gentleman were on the sideline. I asked him, "Who's next? Who has next?" And he said, "I got next." I said, "Well, can I play with you?" can I get on your team? And he said, no, I got them all. And I'm like, who? It's only me and you right here. Who's left? He said, I got them all. Guy, he been locked up at this point, maybe somewhere around 20 years or close to 20 years. And in a very hostile way, he said, I got next. I have them all. I said, I don't see nobody but us. And, he gets belligerent, started cussing. I was like, okay, dude, it ain't that serious. So as I started to walk away, he responds with, I'm getting you. Now, that's what shook me. I don't know what that means. Mm-hmm. And I think I said that. I said, I don't know what that means, but that's not happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we proceed to go in this little, more prison terminology, blind spot where we can't be seen, and he's part of a religious group as well. So as we were tussling, 3 guys, and I don't even hear or see them coming. This is how green I am. Mm-hmm. I don't even hear or see them coming, which again, those are part of protection, defense mechanisms that you develop over a period of time. Yeah. So I don't hear them, which I should hear 3 more guys running towards me, but I don't even hear them. One guy hits me in the back of the head. I guess maybe he had his hand too loose when he balled his fist up, and he broke his hand. And I'm in there tussling with 4 guys. It's just ridiculous. Because I'm like you. I think I'm about 205 pounds now. I'm probably about 155. I'm very thin. Yeah. Really thin. So I'm tussling with these guys, and I think somebody said CO or something. CO meaning correction officers for our listeners. And then they scattered, and that was the moment where it was like, okay, the young dude, he defended himself. He fought back, and that was like standard that, okay, we can leave him alone. Which is ridiculous because it's really juvenile thinking. It's really childish thinking. But that is the culture of the environment there. Yeah. That's just the culture.
It's primitive war, and what they don't want is people that will fight back, right? They want easy, they want victim, and there's that many of them in there. And you just got to get discovered or not discovered as one. But the basketball thing, if I can just say one thing about the political shift and the pliability that you have to, so like the basketball thing resonated with me because I got into it on level 4 yard because of basketball. We're walking the track, basketball rolls out in front of you, you scoop it up and just simply toss it back on the court. Well, that's a no. Like if I touch his ball in basketball in level 4, there's no words, we don't talk, we just go. Well, I didn't know that, you know what I mean? So then as you go down and you get to level 1 and the ball rolls out and to the track and you just stop and let it roll by and keep walking. Now that's disrespect for level 1. So then that way it takes you. So it's
culture changes from
it's pretty wild.
Level to level to level.
Yeah. So
that
just
work.
resonated. Yeah.
Very primitive thinking and behavior in there. Yeah. Very primitive.
Yeah. And one thing that always stuck out to me was because, and the time I spent, and this was in a level 1, was 2008 and 2009. So I go in there and I remember, because I have no racist bone in my body.
Sure.
My best friend growing up is black. He's a doctor now, and I was like appalled. But I was like, the chow hole is like cleaved in the middle.
Yeah.
And you have your black line and your non-black line. And I was like, so me being like fuck that. I never liked the Yardbird. What was it? Chicken leg quarter?
Yeah.
I never liked it. My buddy loved it. Dude from Saginaw. Black guy. And then, so I'm like, I'm just going to go sit on your side. So that created some major issues with some of the white guys.
100%.
And then in the cube, I ended up getting, jumped by 2 white guys that were calling me like, ninja lover.
Yeah.
I'm like, because I've never been that way. And so then, I had him looked up and found out what he was in there for. And I'm like, so CSC offense, like, and I'm like, I tried to get moved from there and, because you have an incident like that and it's like, Oh, it's not just your next door neighbor. Out in the streets, you have an instant with you look at when he pulls in the driveway. It's like,
Yeah.
this dude's sleeping 5 feet away from you.
Yeah.
So I'm like sleeping with my eyes open, you know.
And how you say prison culture with the people is segregated, even by geography. You know, you'll have your Flint guys, you'll have your Saginaw guys,
100%.
you'll have your Detroit guys, you'll have your Detroit guys from the east side, you'll have your Detroit guys from the west side, you'll have your Detroit guys from southwest, you'll have the Muskegon guys, et cetera, et cetera. So not only segregated by race or religion or gang affiliation, but also geography.
Yeah.
And that's part of why I was like, this dude, I'm like, ain't nobody from Midland in my area. So I'm like, this dude's from Saginaw. We're at least close, right? So we'd walk the yard, we'd kick it, we'd work out together, we'd do all that. He was a cool dude. Shout out to Donnell. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's another thing that it changes. And I'll tell you, in level 1, that's come a long ways. But where I started, level 4, if you're black and I'm white, we don't talk, you know. And by the time I got down to level 1, it was, you know, you could have a bunkie, you know. So that came a long ways. But that's another thing as you level down, and just the shift is just, it's crazy, you know, how you always have to stay pliable, you know. So
yeah. So shift into another question for you guys. What do you think the movies get wrong about prison? Is there something you can think of that they explicitly get wrong or even partially get wrong?
I would have to say that, you know, the first aspect of it from an understanding point is that it is art looking to imitate life, you know, but you have a perspective from the artistic side that doesn't have a real life experience. You know, they don't have a Sonny or Adam or a Percy saying, okay, these are some of the things that could make it more realistic. You know, they're going by whatever creativity they have or what they've heard or what somebody has shared that in the sharing may have shifted and changed. So part of how they miss it is they don't talk to people who have credible or real life experience. One thing that I could say that they get all wrong, and then we have to also understand that it's entertainment.
that's
So, you know, they're going to hyper sensationalize and
whatever can it grab
put a little
attention,
different spin that grabs the attention differently or draw the view in. It's all of the things they're going to do. I would probably say when you see, and this also could play a part in era, time, and the facility, but when they highlight different aspects of the warden and the relationship the warden has with the population, most wards at most facilities don't regularly come talk to.
I've never seen the
You
warden.
know, that's a real stretch, you know. You have one or two here and there that may make their rounds occasionally, but having a direct relationship with a warden saying, hey, Adam, how you doing? Hey, Sonny.
Yeah.
That's a
It's
real
not
stretch.
like in a
that's
county
a stretch.
jail where the sheriff
Right.
might make an appearance in the cell or something.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I had one good one and I had a relationship with him, but that's because I was such a a-hole and disrupted his whole program in Macomb, and then he ended up coming to St. Louis at the end of my bit. So it was like kind of weird, but yeah, that's a good point. It's definitely not like that. And I would say, you know, it doesn't put too much emphasis on how much of a city it really is in there. Like it's, you know, it's our own literal world where, you know, it's like, how can I say that?
It's its own ecosystem, its own commerce,
everything. Yeah. I mean, it's just, you say you don't leave to medical, you don't leave to, and you know what I mean? You could literally, I think I was at one place for 4 years and never stepped outside the gate, you know? So it's like, I don't know if that's a good enough point or not, but, and I'm going to say the piggybacking off of that, the treatment from staff versus inmate. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's not like that militant, that militant lifestyle. It's almost non-existent, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? You can go a long time without ever talking. I know people that were in there for 10 years and probably never said a word to an officer.
Well, so that gets into my next point with what makes you a target in there. And I remember guys coming up to me and they're like, don't talk to staff, because if other inmates see you over there talking to the staff, they're gonna think
wrong impression.
Yeah,
wrong idea.
Yeah, they're gonna get the wrong idea. Maybe you want to be like them or something. That's kind of how they presented it. So I guess that would be one way. I mean, you want to put a target on your back, go talk to the CO desk every day, be seen up there socializing with the staff. And not to say the staff, like I have friends that are COs right now,
sure,
and they're not bad people. So not to say that they're not, but when you're an inmate, you don't talk to them.
Yeah.
That's a cultural thing that also kind of is driven from one facility to the next, because, at a time, being at the Thumb, most of the staff there were from Flint and Saginaw. So you'll be there and you'll have not just one or two people that you knew from high school or some connection in the community that actually worked there, So there was a different level of friendliness at that facility that you may not have saw at one of the facilities in the Jackson, years ago. So a lot of that culture it's also different culturally from facility to facility.
I can speak on that. Can I go back to the other question?
Yeah.
I want to say that, I don't know how I fumbled this, but I want to say that the most misconceived thing for sure in my mind is the corruption. The corruption, the smuggling, the dirty officers, the dirty psychologists. The dirty psychologists really seem to be known for that. I don't know, maybe I don't know how much I should say, but food staff, there's just a lot of things in there that we shouldn't have. We'll just say that.
No.
So I would say that.
That can also be higher or lower depending on the facility.
Yeah, when I was, I'm just going to say somewhere, a lieutenant was getting caught for bringing in 200 strips and a bunch of white, you know what I mean? So the corruption didn't know a level, like he says, so.
Well, one of the female staff, when I was inside, ended up getting fired because she was sleeping with and got pregnant from one of the inmates. So, I mean, that corruption.
I don't think I've been to a facility where I didn't see that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially food staff. Especially food staff. That was big.
I don't think I've seen every facility to some level which this was interesting. I believe I only saw this once. I've also seen, a couple times. I've also seen male staff have sexual relations with male inmates.
Yeah.
So it's not just women and men.
Yeah.
You see some pretty interesting things in there.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I've heard of it too in female with male staff in female facilities.
One correction officer, I'm so sorry. One correction officer transferred a STD to an inmate.
Yeah.
So things get
there's
very interesting.
Yeah, there's I couldn't tell you how much. There's literal relationships in there. You know what I mean? And they'll quit their job to marry this person and then come back and visit them. I've seen all that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. I remember when I was inside, I was just thinking, you had mentioned something earlier, Derrick, about like saving a bunch of money, $16 a day, cleaning.
It's like 16 cents or something.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry.
No, it's
inflated
fine.
That big.
We'll just clear it up. You know what I mean?
So, and that's another thing. I don't think they understand, the general public. Like when you're making $3 a day as a tutor, that's top out pay.
Oh
inside. So
And considered a lot of money.
yeah,
$3 a day is considered a lot of money.
So when I was inside, I had a lot of court fines, restitution, all that.
Yeah.
And the judge ordered, made it to where while I was inside, no matter what was put into my books, I only got $50 a month.
Yeah, I had a locked account too, they call that, which is 50. Some people can get half over 50. So they get 50 and then they can get, 25 of the next 50 or whatever. But you had a locked account like I did, which is...
Yeah. So I started out, I think I was like yard crew. I don't remember. I remember working, I got to an unsecured level 1.
Oh, yeah.
This is still when they had work crews. I don't know if they do now.
They do gate pass, yeah.
So
well, they did, and
Yeah, so I was making $2.50, and I was on Montcalm County Drain Commission. Go out with them, and we'd clear cut trees on the side of drains.
Yeah.
And so I'd be operating a chainsaw for 6 to 8 hours, whatever it was, for $2.50.
Yeah.
And I didn't even do it for the money.
But as happy as could be about it. Yeah.
I'm like, man, we'd be cooking. They'd give us food to take with us, and I'd be cooking over a fire, all soaking wet still.
Yeah.
Sore. I loved it though because that broke up. I didn't have a whole long time to do, but it broke it up.
Yeah, and you go home and sleep like a baby, right?
I come back, hit the weight pit.
Yeah, sure.
Because OTF's level 1, unsecure level 1 was right up front, their camp. And I mean, we had open access to the weight pit.
Yeah.
You didn't have to get like a pass.
Call out. Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't have to have a call out to get to the weight room. You could just go whenever you wanted. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I don't think what was your best job as far as pay and best job as far as, I guess, your job?
Okay. So as far as pay or, the actual personal value I gained from it was I actually, I didn't have my GED or diploma when I went to prison. And after I got clean, I, found law library and school and stuff like that. I'll speed it up. But I went and got my GED, and I didn't miss a question on it. I don't know how difficult they are or not, but he seen something in me. Anyway, I became a tutor. So I started to teach, people that were literally illiterate, you know what I mean? And you taught them to read, and you taught them to do math, and you taught them, and they'd get their GED. So, I mean, and that really made me feel good. And that's where my purpose of what I try to do now, that we'll get into, all stemmed from. And then I would say the best job outside of that, as far as pay, and is because of COVID, was laundry, because I still got to move around. You know what I mean? We were frozen. COVID in prison was crazy. But I still had access to the whole unit and or some other units and buildings. So that was probably that. But yeah, I had a lot of jobs in Macomb. You could have a dual job detail, so I could tutor in the morning and then work in the chow hall in the afternoon, and then you had free weight pit whenever you could get it. So that's probably the best time I had going. You know what I mean? Level 4 setting. Got a crazy story about that, but I'd get up in the morning and go to work, and then come back, count, and then get it right after count and go to chow hall and work until they basically kick you out. So the days are just clicking by. So that's probably my best.
What about you, Percy?
The best job. I never worked in the kitchen, so I probably have to say maybe the library.
Yeah.
Just because it was comfortable, it was warm, it wasn't overly fussy or not having to deal with all of the institutional dynamics.
Yeah.
No issues. I'll have to say probably the library. Worst job was actually kind of fun, but it was still the worst job just because it was so much. I was in Marquette, and those winters in Marquette are
snow shoveling. Were you on snow shoveling?
I was on the yard crew.
Oh yeah.
And when I say it is cold in Marquette, there is a very, very short window of summer up north. So really June, July.
Yeah.
Anything before June, anything after July is really like the fall, you know. Wintertime, oh my God, it was, when I say a lot of snow, it is a lot of snow and it is really cold. So being on that yard crew, and I mean, back then, you know, you had those stay boots that were so uncomfortable.
Not warm.
And they were not warm. They didn't give you thermal socks.
Sure.
You know, it was horrible. It was horrible. Yeah.
For what, like 15 cents a day?
Maybe a little more, but maybe like 30 cents a day.
Yeah, you're probably
like
max
that.
pay.
Yeah, something like 30
that,
cents a day. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. The best I was on was the work crew. So I got shifted from Montcalm County Drain Commission to Carson City DPW. Man, and to be able to be outside the walls was a blessing, but it was so the mental strain of the day-to-day, not having to endure that. And I just cut lawns.
Sure.
Carson City on a zero turn, you know, and I had big orange shirt that said prisoner on the back of it, and you know, everybody seen me cruising through town. There would be a caravan, 2 zero turns, 2 regular tractors, and then the prison van. So, and this was obviously, I was in for forgery, uttering, and publishing. So, nonviolent, low risk, short time. So these are all factors they considered. But
yeah,
having that job gave me the release, like, because I don't think people understand really when you're, and you mentioned COVID and being able to, having that laundry job, being able to move around. I can't imagine the people that didn't have that.
Oh,
because when you're like, and the people in Max that are locked down 23 hours a day, like Jackson was when I was there. But for those people, you don't get that mental stimulation that you take for granted when you know, you just drive down the road. You're not like, oh, look at all these trees. Look at all the colors. Look at all, you know, that stuff inside you don't get.
Yeah.
So I was really grateful for that when I was inside, because that saved my, and like I said, I was a short timer.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't do over a decade. Like, so.
Yeah. Those small wins that you stack up like that are, I was going to say, like, the library, man, I loved the library because it was almost like you're just in there. The camaraderie of everybody was just like nothing else really mattered. You know what I mean? So there's something about the library.
Then you got the current magazines that's coming out.
Yeah.
Newspaper. You know, people understand USA Today, but you don't understand how valuable a USA Today or a Sports Illustrated or a Time magazine, how precious
car magazines.
You don't understand how precious those things are when that monthly magazine comes in the mail and you got access to it in the library and can read it first, and you know, pages aren't torn out of it, pictures aren't torn out of it, people haven't written in it. Like, all those little things just helps the comfort level in just a very weird living structure.
Yeah, any way you can righteously escape the reality. You know what I mean?
Like mail.
Yeah.
Mail time was
getting
a letter. It's like
like $1 million.
Yeah. And now they got what, emails and stuff in there.
Yeah, we had a this will probably blow your mind. It was just this little, it's like an MP3 player basically. You could load that thing up with, I don't know, I think I ultimately had, 1,000 songs on it or something, so, and you could get
probably
charged.
Had your number in it.
Oh yeah, 100%. And
I tried. They did that when we were in there, and because I can only get $50 a month because of the locked account.
Yeah.
I couldn't buy a TV. It'd take me 4 months.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
So I'm like, dude's leaving.
Right.
He's like, he's got a month left. I'm like, I'll buy your TV from you.
Sure.
Right. So I had another guy, paid him to engrave my number in it. Right. And I had that bad boy for like 8 months until her name was Schaefer. And she had it out for me. She was always coming to shake my room down. And she took my TV like 4 months before I got out. So I'd just sit in my, like
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is
reading that type of stuff.
the removed stimulation is hard to navigate through, right? Like, and then I got clean in there, right? So I had to find things that filled that gap in dopamine, right? Because you're not chasing it on the yard or chasing, and then getting it. I don't even know if getting it and using it was the euphoria as much as obtaining it itself, right? So you just had to find those things, and when it gets stricken from you, it's a big blow. I mean, it can really break you. So people don't realize that either. So, and that's where I found physical fitness and got things. Just to spin off what you say, I loved having things that they couldn't take from me, right? So I knew if they put me in the hole for however long they wanted to, they couldn't take my push-ups and squats, right? Yep. Or if they, whatever happened, they couldn't take my faith, So yeah, I'm not saying I didn't have a TV and do those things, but I loved,
you had just things that
really hanging on to those things, focusing on those more than the other, which I brought out here, but I think we'll get into that later.
Yeah. Now let's take a moment to thank our sponsors, Pine Haven Assisted Living. At Pine Haven Assisted Living, they believe in making every resident feel at home. Nestled in the peaceful countryside of Hemlock, Michigan, they offer compassionate care in a family-like environment where residents can enjoy independence with the support they need. Registered nurse-owned and operated, their team provides personalized care, home-cooked meals, and a range of activities to ensure your loved ones continue to live a fulfilling life. They also have alpacas and llamas on site to enrich the lives of their residents. Experience the warmth and comfort of Pine Haven. Call them today at 989-295-6632. That's 989-295-6632, or you can visit them on their website at pinehavenassistedliving.com. That's pinehavenassistedliving.com for more information. Now, back to the Level Up Life. What's your biggest, if you had to describe the difference between jail and prison, in a couple sentences, what would you tell someone who's never been to either?
So the experience with jail is so different psychologically, because jail is the end result of whatever poor choice you make. Prison is the end result of whatever poor choice you make. Jail is the waiting for the end result. Mm-hmm. So psychologically, it's so different. Because in prison, okay, I have X amount of years. I'm finding myself. I'm understanding what I like. Getting into this workout routine regimen. In jail, it's a big question mark. I might get 5 years. Yeah. I might get 10 years. I might get 20 years. It's a different level of
knowing, right?
Yeah, it's a different level of anxiety. That is so much more pressure, where there's almost zero pressure with prison, but pressure comes from the lifestyle and the culture of prison, depending on what you involve yourself in, mm-hmm. or don't involve yourself in, that almost doesn't exist, because you're, a lot more independent. Prison, as we know, is not a place where you just make a ton of friends, because it's not safe, because guys are into all type of stuff.
Yeah.
So the first piece is the psychological piece. Once you look past the psychological piece, it's tough being in the jail. Outside of those court proceedings, you may not go outside and get fresh air for an entire year. Like literally.
Yeah.
Where, in prison, you're confined behind these gates. But think about being confined in this small pod for an entire year. And I haven't even been outside, because there's no windows to open. There's no air to smell except what's compressed in here.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it is tough, but it doesn't seem as tough because, again, you have the anxiety, but you still are faithful. So that makes it as not as pressured, if that makes sense, because it kind of sounds like I'm contradicting myself. Because it's an anxious and really anxious moment, but it is also a faithful, optimistic one because I'm still in the belief that I won't get 20 years. I'll get out. But it's so much harder to be in a jail than it is a prison because, you're confined to this little space. And you're just walking in this.
Food.
The food
I've
is
never
absolutely.
been to, not
and
saying,
prison food in some places could be terrible.
Yeah.
I know Cotton, years ago, the food was disgusting. Almost everywhere in Jackson, the food was disgusting. Jail could be even 10 times more disgusting. So it's hard to be in the jail.
Yeah.
And especially those first few days, like you said, you were struggling with addiction. You had to go through that. Me, I drank a whole lot in my teenage and all the way up to prison. So, I'm going through DTs. My hands are shaking from missing the alcohol. I was thin because I drank too much and ate too much fast food. So that process of getting to a stabilized place, because I've been drinking and doing this for too long and too heavy. Those first couple of weeks in the jail are tough. You might be sick, vomiting. First couple of days, you might not be able to eat, primarily because you're not even used to eating 2-3 times a day. Then now I have food in front of me, and it's the worst food in the world.
Yeah.
It could be a lot. Yeah, it could definitely be a lot.
My first few times going to jail, I was like, I'm not eating. I'm going to get out soon. I won't ever have to eat this stuff. And then
a couple of days go by, you like, please give me something.
Well, so then people started looking at me like, I remember I went from like the newbie. First time I was in there, I was scared. I'm like, I'm gonna get bonded out, like all this. And then like a few years go by and I landed in there again. And I'm like, in the holding tank, I'm like, you gonna eat that? Because I know how hungry I'm gonna be in 2 weeks.
Right.
So I'm trying to get ahead of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. All very valid points, Percy, for sure. I would say, because I have to say something different. So the biggest, in its simplest form, is jail. But this is outside of the fact, like, for half of my jail stay, I knew I was going to prison, and I knew the amount of time I was looking at. So that made it extremely hard. But all the other times, or the beginning of that time, in relation to after you get to prison and watch your first people, they didn't make it home, we'll just say that, So you realize right away the biggest difference is you don't have that almost guarantee anymore. Like, you might not go home, And, I watched a couple people go in some really bad ways, and, you got to figure out. So I was going to say, you got to, at least then, okay, whatever it is, at first it was 8.5 or whatever. Okay, so now I know what I got to do. Now, how do I do it? So, right. So at least you can work on, the solution versus the problem type deal. So that's how I broke it down for myself. But yeah, just piggyback off him, and with that, what I said, that's pretty much it. I would say, you lose that guarantee of, safety.
Yeah.
You don't feel safe anymore. Jail, even though you're confined in that pod and it's dirtier or it's smaller, and it's safer. It's a lot safer.
100%.
So you trade some freedoms for a little more risk. It's, I know, like, my experience landing, so I think in jail, like, kind of piggybacking on what you said, the fact that, there's that question mark, the big question mark. I'm not going to be here forever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be here past, usually it's like a year in county. So there's going to be a change in scenery. When I got to Jackson, I made the mistake of counting counting days.
Yeah.
You know, and I had 23 months, which still, you know, in perspective, a day can be a long time for someone.
Sure.
But when I sat there and I counted it out and I had 205 days credit and I'm like, I got 495 to do. You know, it seemed like I thought of seasons, right?
Yeah, sure.
When you're, when you frame it like that in prison, there is an end to the tunnel.
Yeah.
Whether it's 23 months,
Yeah.
10 years, whatever it may be, you know, there's an end to it where I think just the unknowing side of jail is.
That's, yeah. If I could say something, I like that idea too, especially I did the days thing, especially in quarantine and, you know, going through it. First time I had ever been to prison, you know, and then I started counting seasons and then after walking, you know, my first entire year out there and went through 4 seasons and I'm like, I got to do that like 36 more times. You know what I mean? So then I didn't even want to count seasons no more. I was like, you don't think of days or months. You just know the year and we're just going to get, we know, you know, so yeah.
There is kind of like court in prison though, parole board.
Oh yeah. Well, I went to 2 different appeals. So I went through 2 different appeals and then those are hard too. Those are hard on you. By the time I had opportunity to go for the 3rd one for 5 months, I literally didn't go for it. That's how strenuous it is and going to, because if you go from prison back to a county, now that's excruciating.
Yeah.
That's that's crazy. So you don't even, you know what I mean? You'll weigh that greatly. So.
And it's excruciating to the point where it can be traumatic.
Oh yeah.
It can be very traumatic.
Yep. I know for a while there, this is off our topic, but for a while there, Michigan was one of the states and they were having people do their last 2 years of their bit in county jails.
Oh, wow. Oh, no. That would be.
Yeah, that happened in about 2010, 12, 13 era.
Wow.
Just before I went to prison.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I got the old P61 under my door. I did have to see the parole board, but it was, they basically asked me if I was going to associate near the family that this happened with, where the checks came from.
Sure.
And I said no.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, where are you going to be staying? You know, pretty simple questions, and they let me wait. They make you sit on it for 6 months for a decision.
Yeah.
Then, you know.
Yeah.
And you don't talk about it when you get a parole.
Oh no, that's
not one single.
That's one of the most dangerous things you could do while the entire stay.
Yeah, actually, one person knew my date out of. I think there's like 2,300 people or something at St. Louis. One person knew my date. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you got to be. I mean, if
misery loves company,
the higher levels you get, like where I was at in this. When I got my parole, there were guys there. They were doing like, you know, this guy had 2 years left. I think that was the most of anybody. Mm-hmm. So it was all short time.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
If you walk up to someone that's got 18 years left,
they don't want you to go home.
Or life, even worse.
Or life, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they hear you're leaving, you know, they get to go sit and stew on that.
Yeah.
And think about how you get to leave and they don't.
That was a hard one for me to try to understand how somebody wouldn't want that for somebody. To be that miserable. Like my bunkie did 44 years. And he was leaving and somebody tried to plant some stuff on him and, you know, flew a kite saying he had this or whatever. You know what I mean? I was like, it's wild, you know? So, yeah.
So on the opposite side, a couple years ago, I went back to go speak at the Dunn Correctional Facility. And there was a gentleman there that was there way back then when I was there, like in 94. So think about this is 2023. I'm there speaking at a graduation, and this same person is still in prison from 94 when I was there. Yeah. So somebody afterwards asked me, He said, Percy, how does it feel coming back here and seeing Mr. Such and Such? And I'm like, I'm going home. I said, the hard part has to be for him. Him seeing me come back in here and he's still here.
Yeah.
Because I'm going home. I don't feel, my heart goes out to him because he's still here.
Sure.
But for me, I don't feel weird about that. I mean, I'm that anymore because the very first time I went back to a prison and spoke, there was a lot of anxiety.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, I was there for about 40 minutes. I'm fine. I'm talking. Then all of a sudden, I was like, oh, my God, get me out of here.
Yeah.
It's like the walls are just closing.
I need to know that I can leave.
Yeah. Like, get me out of here, please, right now.
So we go in to the Midland Juvenile Center.
Mm-hmm.
We mentor and train the kids. And, there's been times, and this is like that unidentified trauma that just sticks with you.
Yeah.
And sneaks up on you.
It snuck up on me for sure because, like the staff, they had to take the kids back or something, and I had to take care of some equipment, and they left me in the gym. And, the average person that hasn't spent time incarcerated probably would have been fine. Like, but I'm like, peeking out. There's this little crack, and I can see the control, and I'm like,
I'm here, right?
hitting the button, like, because I was super anxious once that door's closed and I'm trapped inside.
And you were in there by yourself.
Same thing happens to me. And like I said, I didn't spend as long as you guys, so I can imagine it's probably other people who spent longer feel the same thing. But like I can be at home with my wife and we're in the bathroom brushing our teeth and I'm done and I turn and the door is here and she's in front of the door. She's between me and the door. I start getting like my skin's crawling. Like I need to go. I need to get out of here because it's like
there's a lot I don't share with people too, because I don't know if you can relate, but if you get to riding around in a bus on chains a lot, like I can even get it in cars. Like I may not even really have to use the bathroom, but we're stopping and I'm getting out, and you know what I mean? It's just it's stupid, but it's just a thing, So yeah, I definitely understand it. And I mean, it gets better, it gets lesser, we can spin off into, I get the night terror dreams. I don't know if anybody experiences that or not, but I mean, it's bad, but I got jumped a couple times in my sleep. So that's where that stems from, I'm sure, you know what I mean? So, those sleeping with your shoes on deal and all that, and there's a war going on and, so yeah, I definitely understand and relate to that. That's what I was going to ask about that. Going back in and talking, I definitely fear that.
Like I said, the very first time I was fine up until a point, then all of a sudden it was just like, get me out of here, please. Get me out of here right now. Like, I got to go. Get me out of here.
Yeah.
Very interesting story. I go to Huron Valley for a job fair. So on the way there, one of the parole agents at Lawton Parole calls me and said, hey, are you going to the job fair at the prison? I'm saying, yeah, I'm headed there right now. And I had never experienced this ever in life. So she said, well, keep it professional. I'm like, of course I'm professional. I got this. What are you talking about? She's like, keep it professional. Yeah. So I get there, one of the partners from Lighthouse from Oakland County, I'm sharing a table with her, and there's, a resident, not a proper term we should be using anymore, but for audience, inmate. The female inmate comes to the table, and by far, no makeup, hair combed to the back. She is the most gorgeous woman I've ever seen in my life. And I'm talking about she just have on a prison uniform, no lip gloss. She is absolutely amazing. And I think she said, like, good morning, and that's all she said. And then I don't know how unintentional or how intentional this was, she, like, turned and was looking at the table over her shoulder. And I said, you know what? Get me out of here. Because she was like, she wasn't even saying the word, but her energy was like, come here, come to me. And I was like, get me out of here. Mm-hmm. And I had never felt, number one, an attraction to the opposite sex so uniquely without anything being said. I had never found myself, for just being transparent, lustful and so interesting, just like, oh my God, she's gorgeous, except for in this moment. So then it also helped me understand that, which I couldn't understand for completely because everybody's individual, but it started to help me understand the human process when you see women who come to work and get caught up dealing with guys who may have 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
Like, homegirl, what were you thinking? You were dealing with a guy that potentially may never get out of prison. But now I started to understand all of those chemical things and chemical energies internally that draws and connects people, honestly, romantically.
Yeah.
You know, that is a lot more interesting and a lot more interesting than putting into words, because sometimes it's not about conversation. It's just, you know, all of these dynamics that we can't see that pulls you and pulls your energy to this person's energy. You know, so that was a very interesting experience too. I'm like, oh my God, this woman's like about to have me like, just like, come here, give me a hug. Like, she really had me in a weird place.
Yeah. That loss of attraction, right?
Right.
Going into Genesee where we met, was pretty. That was my first time back in an adult jail.
Really?
Since I've gotten clean.
Okay.
Sober, since I've U-turned my life from where I was going. And I go in and I'm like, I go over to the right where everybody registers for visitation, and you know, I wait in line, get up there. I'm like, yeah, I'm here for Ignite graduation. Tell them my name. They're like, you're not on this list. And I was like, well, I talked to Dave Custer and
Right.
Sheriff Swanson. He actually invited me personally, so I'm like,
right.
And they had no clue. I went to the wrong area. Is what happened. And so over here, this guy, he goes and checks, and they yell, Mr. Wittbrodt. And I'm like,
right.
Because being in that setting and then hearing that, I was like, and it brought me back to Wittbrodt inside jails, prison.
Yeah.
So one of the things for the people that had visited the jail, for whatever reason they were there, that had been incarcerated, but had also more so had been to a jail, they always talk about going back into the jail and the scent, the smell. Did that impact you?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, and I just toured Midland County recently because they're making some changes, and I have a proposal in to go in and work with the inmates there. And I got taken down to a pod they're turning into a recovery pod, which as we get into part 2, I want to talk a lot more about, you know, not just the reentry side of it, but you know, like we got to start a conversation, because just housing people doesn't rehabilitate them.
Yeah.
Of course not at all.
So
not at all.
We'll dive into that, but thank you for tuning into part 1. Like, subscribe, share, help us keep the conversation going.